Hi,
Hi.
welcome to Why Are We Like This, a Heartstopper podcast. I'm Ashley, she, her.
And I am Adam, he, him, and today we are back with a bonus episode.
Heyo, welcome back, Adam.
Yay! Thank you very much. It's so nice to be back. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
excited. I listened to both episodes. Ashley and I were just talking before we hit record, and yeah, I heard like all of Sabrina's like lovely insight as well, which was really, really nice to hear. And I'm pleased, like you both just had that, that spotlight just to talk about your feelings within those, those two episodes, which are a little bit more L focused. And
Yeah.
I loved the insight into kind of that storyline in both episodes. But yeah, the whole time I was thinking like, oh, like I am missing chatting. Like it's just like it's nice to be back and to talk all things Heartstopper and to hang out with my gal.
Yes, I'm excited. So, we're basically doing this like a filler episode almost,
Fair.
where we're going to catch up with Adam, get all his thoughts on the two episodes he was out for, and then read some of your emails that you sent in. I also have some notes just throughout. I rewatched the episodes, I compiled some comments, so I have some things to address. But why don't we start out by just like hearing what you have to say?
All righty. I guess let's start with winter. It's interesting because these two episodes, although they are like, they have like the heavier kind of subject matter in both of them, like with it being, I guess like Charlie and Elle really focused in both episodes, I still really like them. Like there's something about like, and I guess for me as well, like, hello, like, I've said this a million times, we're coming from England and being like a teenager and like, seeing them, even just little things like when they count down to New Year and they all sing Auld Lang Syne and like they're crossing their arms like as they're singing, like that's what I did, and like still like at home, that's what my family do you know what I mean? So like to see all of that and like that build up to that and like that was really nice. See them watching the fireworks and all of that was beautiful. But then, just in Winter Alone, I kept saying this in other episodes, like Tori's face when Charlie decides to leave and she's like, what about me? And it's just tearing up. That just cuts through me every time. It's like, I love that actress so much. She plays it so well. She plays like emotional vulnerability whilst also underlined with strength so well, which is a difficult concoction of like emotions to try and portray as an actress. And she just nails it, So I love that
Yeah.
about her. But yeah, that particular scene, like on the stairs, like, as she comes around and he's about to leave and she says that, oh, it just breaks my heart. But I do love that later on, she does obviously go to Nick's and like they hang out and like have a nice time and like all of that. But that's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
It's a really good episode. It's a really tough episode. Obviously, we are moving into the realms of like, Tao and Elle are talking about having sex. And then like later on, Nick and Charlie talk about the same thing as well. And, you know, to watch Elle grapple with that as well, is, it's obviously not speaking as a trans person. There's so much that I am learning from watching that, and
Right.
it's the difficulty of like her going through that is just, it's tough. And like, there's so much more compared to like, I guess a cisgendered like couple, like there's so much more to consider with that. And it was just, seeing the layers of like how she is considering every single part of how that can happen. It's beautifully played, by the actress, the writing so solid there. And, it's wonderful. For all that it is hard to watch, and of course it is, it's so wonderfully handled. It's handled with so much respect and so much, it's just real and it's raw. And those are the feelings that you have, let alone, the fact that she's 16 and everything else on top of her as well at that moment.
Right. Right.
But it's undercut with the lovely moments, as I say, like when they go to the, the party in somebody's house later on, and like who the mysterious house that they go to. But like all of that, I love, like, all of the conversations between the different couples coming together, and like, we get the apology from Imogen later on, which is really lovely, and I love that. And like one of the big things about both these episodes together is the development of the characters that I really love. And like, for all that Charlie does go through, I guess I'll speak about Charlie a little bit, but although Charlie does kind of revert a little bit when the self-harm kind of comes back in again, he talks about how, he reverted back to that. Oh my God, what a strength moment from Charlie when he manages to, calm down the panic attack. Like that for me is such strength. That's being proud of Charlie. Do you know what I mean? And I guess it's one of those big things for me where like when someone has gone through so much trauma in their life, and it can be, at that point, like Charlie's not really, although he's probably had panic attacks and we've seen him have panic attacks, his trauma is so focused on like his body image and like, his about eating and everything and his thoughts on that. So the fact that he could recognize the signs in Tara like that and immediately was just like, right, okay. And like the whole time he wasn't panicking. He was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's stop breathing. Take my hands. Everything's good. We do this in therapy, and he's just so calm, and like, that's such a mirror of like everything that he's seen with like, when he went to the center and like how the people were with him, like how calm they were. There was no judgment. There was nothing. There was no like, oh my God, like Charlie's suffering like this. Let's panic together. It was like, right, okay, let's get you through this. We can get through this. And that's such a big moment for Charlie. Probably one of his biggest in the whole season, if I'm honest.
Definitely.
Because he's not spiraling into hell, which he easily could have. When you get caught up in someone else's trauma, which is so easy to do. I've done it before, definitely, when someone's starting to really fall down the well and you're almost diving down with them because it's so easy to. But in that moment, Charlie's like, no, I'm pulling you out of that well. We're not doing this together. We know what this looks like. We know where that well goes, but today's not that day. And the fact that he was able to do that and overcome that was just beautiful. For me, that was like poetry. So like that was lovely. And like, all of the beautiful moment with Jonathan Bailey as well. I mean, just come through, King. Like so good. And like Nick's face when he finds out, he's like having like, the heart flutters and like, oh, I think I fancy this man too. And like, and like calling out the shit joke. Sorry, the joke that I don't get, but like just saying like, oh yeah, I thought the joke was really funny. He's just like, I have no idea what it meant.
Such a disaster.
Yes, but I loved it so much. I'd be the same. I'd be awkwardly like, oh,
absolutely,
100%. Especially if it's him looking at me like that. It's like, oh, yeah, a fellow traveler's great. What else would you say? But so as I say, like I love like, for all that we do get those heavier aspects, especially with Elle, like, and the radio kind of interview as well, which is, oh my God, it like makes me angry to watch it. Because like literally you just want to say, I wonder who the person was that you had on interview last week talking about trans issues, that feminist. I wonder who that could have been. And why don't you go and ask them all them questions? Probably someone that's a lot older, not a 16-year-old girl, for God's sake. Like on top of like when you and I was 16, Ash, like, to talk about some of our own issues of like, queerness or whatever, we don't have a clue. We're still forming our brains about everything. And like, and on top of that, asking a trans girl these questions, like, which adults in society, like twice her age, still don't know the answer to. I'm sorry, but like, what are we doing? It's torture. It's not an interview, it's torture.
To like spring it on her too is really like, it's one thing if you like put out a call for teenagers who are like really passionate about these laws and want to talk about it. But to like lure her into this interview based on the guise that she's going to be promoting her art and talking about her art. It's slimy and it's gross and I hate it.
And it's unfortunately a reflection of real life. Like how many times do we see this when, I mean, I watch a lot of interviews like Ash, I know you do as well. And not just the Heartstopper cast, just in general, like, cast members we like, directors we like, whatever. And how many times do you see it when, you get the interview when the interviewer is asking a specific question about some like issue or like a part of like the actor's life or whatever. And the actor's like, I'm sorry, I thought I was here to promote the movie. Like, why are you bringing this up? Like, there's a famous Robbie Downey Jr. like interview, and he's like been asked about his alcoholism and his father, and he's like, I'm here to promote a movie. I'm out. Bye. And literally walks out the interview. There's a famous Tarantino interview, which you might have seen when he's been asked about violence again. And he says, like, I'm shutting your ass down. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my movie. So like, it's such like a reflection of, Elle, unfortunately at the age of 16, going through that, like it was so tough. And especially when her art is so fucking good to talk about. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Like it's like such a great talking point as well of like how, she's been painting her friends and yet that's what's blown up in the popularity of like her art has been inspired by her friends, and it's just blown up to this incredible spectacle and like people love it and love her as the artist as well. So yeah, it's hard to watch. It does make you grip your hands. But I think after the emotional journey of Journey, I think like the way that the lighter moments in these two episodes are really nicely balanced out, like when we see Michael for the first time, and like when the eyes kind of meet, and like, oh, that moment is beautifully done. Can we just have a second to talk about that moment?
Oh my God, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It
and then multiply.
me so much.
Like, it's just a beautiful moment. Like when they pass each other in the party, and it's like it's all the storm happening around them, and they've both walked into the eye of the storm, where it's calm and they're just looking at each other for like what feels like, 70 minutes, but reality it's like 10 seconds. But like just them looking at each other like that, and just obviously as readers we know where that's going, but it was just
Right.
it was played so well. It was played so well. And I love Tori's face when like she turns away and like that little smile that creeps across her face before she walks away. It's like, oh,
I
who's
know.
that guy?
On my rewatch this time, I did notice usually so caught up in that moment that I'd catch like zero details. And I didn't even realize that they have matching cups with their little reusable straws.
Oh my
So they
God. I
both
mean,
brought, they picked the same color cup and they both brought a straw. And it's like, meant to be.
written in the cups, like, dear
Yes.
God, like, wow. It's the little details like that in this show, which I absolutely love. And you always are an expert in picking up on the mash, especially. But like that's a perfect example. Like that, I mean, that went over my head in the two times I watched that episode. But again, coming back to it for your 90,000th time watching the
Yeah.
episode, I'm sure, it's so nice to see that there's I love a good show when there's like, you can go back to it several times and you're still seeing new stuff and you're still picking new stuff up.
Right.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that's like that. Every time I go back to it, I feel like I see and learn something new. So yeah, it's so lovely to see that on their journey. And like, obviously later on in the next episode when they're camping out in the garden and then like they're being cute together and he's like, you two look like you need like eggs and toast. I'll go and make that. And like goes to the kitchen to make it. And then Charlie's like, oh, so you stayed the night, huh? Like just I love it. I love it. I love it. But
So good.
but yeah, but again, just to talk a little bit briefly about Charlie again on his journey with this. I do love the moment when obviously, he calms down the panic attack. I think it's beautiful. I think it's one of the strongest moments from Charlie in the entire show, if I'm completely honest. I love like Nick looking over his shoulder and being so proud of him, in that moment. And just when he says that was amazing, he's not just saying that was amazing, but he's also saying, look how far you've come.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's saying
100%.
really. But also it's just saying, I'm your biggest fan right now,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful. And I love it. And then, go back to Charlie, like when he's drunk and he's talking to Nick in the kitchen and he's like, I really like you and we could go upstairs and like I've been thinking about sex a lot. It's hard and it's nice at the same time because obviously Charlie's got like what we call Dutch courage. He's had a lot to drink. He's like, and he even says, right, like, oh, if I'm sober, I wouldn't have said these things type thing. Whereas, when we have a couple of drinks, like I'm like that. I'm like, I'll tell you how much I love you.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Anyone, like a doorman in a building. I love you. Like just, so yeah, it's like, it's so well played as well by Joe Locke. Like he is acting like he is pissed. Like he has had a lot of drink.
Yep.
But it's so nice because it is building up to that moment of when they do have sex for the first time, and like Nick in that moment saying to Charlie basically, I do too, but this is not the time. It's like we both need to be in the same headspace, and that ain't happening right now.
Right.
Nick just being golden retriever vibes all the time.
Yes.
Such proud of Nick as well for that. But yeah, just so it's so lovely to see like, everything that Charlie's been through in the last kind of, well, this season, to be fair, let's be honest, when we see like the self-harm scars on his arm and then he says like, oh, I still don't want to take my clothing off around you. And then we know how that's going to build up towards later on in the season. It's just all of these blocks that are falling into place to get us to that
Yeah.
beautiful magic stuff at the end, which I love. And I'm excited to get to because yeah, like the first time they do have sex, it's like so well played. There's so much to unpack in that, which we'll obviously
Yeah.
get to. But yeah, just two great episodes again. Honestly, just fantastic. I really enjoyed them for all that they are heavy episodes. Let's be real. That's not to undercut anything that Charlie goes through, Elle goes through, and obviously other characters as well. They're just, I don't know. There's so much in them that makes me feel good, and that's what
Yeah.
I like about them.
Yeah. Okay, so I had some notes.
Ooh.
First, we got a comment, and I did answer because it was a comment on Spotify, but I'm curious your answer. So someone asked if you could give a color to each season, which colors would you choose?
Oh
And
my
I
God.
said, this is Lily that left the comment on Spotify. I said that season 1 would be yellow, season 2 would be blue, and season 3 would be green. And I said, basic, maybe, but it just feels right to me.
Interesting. Okay. Oh God, this is tough. Okay. Whew, let's have a think. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Lily, for this question. I'm like, a rainbow is like forming in my head right now, and I'm like
Yeah,
going through each color. All right. I don't know why, but season two is coming to me first, and I'm getting an orange from season two, like a nice like sunrise type color, which is weird because that you'd think that would be for season one, but I'm getting that from season two, and I don't know what it is. I'm just getting this orange color, whether it's the trip to Paris or just I don't know. There's something orangey about season two for me. That's what I'm seeing. Season one yellow, that's a really good shout, but I'm not going to do that. I think for me, ooh, okay. Season one for me, I would honestly go like a very light shade of blue. Um, I don't know. There's like a particular calmness in season one, which the other seasons don't have.
it's true.
And blue is always so calming for me. And I think like, more of like that. I don't know, like a lighter blue for me is like such a younger color, if that makes sense. And like obviously,
Yeah.
they're at the beginning of their journey there. So I think like for me, season one's very blue. And then for me, season three, ooh, I would go purple. Um, and I think because for me, purple, I don't know, there's something where like this is just me talking about the color purple, but and not the stage show, but there's something that I just start singing the music from it. I am here, but no, there's something about purple where it can be both a beautiful color and such a dark, treacherous color at the same time. Like it can
Yeah.
mean something beautiful or something danger, and then purple's kind of like that color which for me can like on a pendulum can swing either side. And I think season three for me in particular has a lot of that where like there's some beautiful moments in there, there's some darker moments in there when the purple gets really dark, and then
Hmm.
there's like nice moments when like I just imagine purple like just like flowing like
Velvet.
velvet.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
that.
do you know what I mean? So like when
Yeah.
the velvet's taut, like things are getting really tense, but then when things are lovely, the velvet starts flowing, and that's kind of what I get with the color purple for season three. So yeah, if that made any sense,
I
Lily,
love that.
that and Ashley's wearing purple right now, so she's feeling season
Yeah.
three.
That's kind of the same way I chose green because I thought like a dark hunter green for some of the
Mm.
season, but then lightening up kind of in different spots.
Hmm.
And then the yellow and blues that I chose were definitely just like the heart stopper yellow and blue. And I think that season one feels more yellow to me. I guess
Yeah.
maybe just because of like, to me, yellow is like a lighter color than
Hmm.
blue, like emotion wise instead of not color wise,
Yeah.
lighter. But season two got a little more tense, and I feel like as much as blue can be a calming color, I feel like you can also feel blue, which is like more
Mm.
of a sad
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my reasoning with
And I guess
those.
there's some crossover with us there because, like, for me, saying season two is orange is like the yellow is like turning into orange because it's getting darker. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
then obviously, like, I mean, to go on to season three, like, we've changed colors because
yeah,
effectively,
yeah,
we have grown up. And I guess for me, I don't know, I always associate purple as more of like an adult type color rather than like a primary color of like red,
yeah.
green, blue, yellow. And obviously,
Right.
this is dealing with more adult themes this season. So I guess, I don't know, maybe that as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, what a cool question though. I've never thought of it like that. But the show is full of so much color, so that does make sense.
yeah,
Yeah, it does. I like that. I'm gonna be thinking
yeah.
about that.
That was a fun one, I think.
Mm.
We also got a comment. I actually think it might have been a DM
Okay.
on Instagram. There's a photo that moves from Nick's house to Charlie's house,
Wait, what?
unexplained.
Okay.
And I was like, this, there's no way. And I went and looked and I was like, oh my God, what a good catch. It's like in season one, it's in Nick's house and it's like near the stove. So like when he's making tea, you can see it and it's like a teal sky with like maybe some sand or something like an orange. It's like a landscape looking ordeal. And then in winter, we see it hanging up behind Tori, like right by the door when Charlie's putting his shoes on. It's in their little hallway.
Ah, hold on. What is the picture of?
It's just like a landscape.
Okay.
It's like orange on the bottom, like maybe sand, and then blue, but it's like wavy like mountains, maybe.
Interesting. Oh, that's a pretty cool little detail. I wonder if like the set designers were just like, whoops, or if
It
that
was
was
in
like,
one of their houses. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, like let's just hang it up somewhere.
Yeah.
God, that's really funny. I hope like season 4 they have like t-shirts with it printed on, like just
It just moves around.
yeah, like behind Ashley and I
We
right
see
now.
it in Tal's room.
Yes, oh my God, upside down.
Yeah.
Behind Ashley and I right now, we have it hanging up on our walls, so but you guys don't know that,
Yeah.
but it's right there. That's pretty fun. It's a cool little detail. The moving picture. That should be a spin-off itself.
Yes, so good. Such a good catch. I'm so sorry I didn't write down the person's name who sent that to me. And then I just wrote a note that says, look into Sarah's bookshelf, which I did, but I couldn't read anything. It's up on my stories right now, and I have gotten some answers. So we'll see more to come on the bookshelf after I collect a little bit more, because I just did it right before we started recording. I was like, I can't come up with anything I'm going to post.
Sweet.
Question.
Yes.
Christmas dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an accurate dinner plate?
Listen, those if that was put in front of me, I would raise a lot of questions. And I'd be like, we need to talk about Christmas dinner because this is not it, baby. This is dry as hell. Where is the goddamn gravy? Like, where are the sauces? Like, where's the cranberry sauce? And like everything else, where's the mint sauce? Like, what are we doing? And like, it's like almost like a prop of this is just a prop for Christmas dinner. That just people will get what we mean by it. And it's like no. Like for a show that is on the details, like we need to get this right. So like even like when Charlie and Tori are like talking about like I want to be seasons the food properly and everything. Well, that's the result of it. Shitty Christmas dinner. Let's be real. So like on a Christmas dinner, you're having like your Yorkshire puddings, you've got your meat on there, and that could be beef, it could be turkey, could even be chicken. You've got like Brussels sprouts, you've got all your veg, like your turnip, you've got carrots, like all of that. You've got your mashed potato, you've got your roast potatoes, gravy, like it should be swimming in gravy, like literally, like all of this together, like that's like a proper Christmas dinner. So when I saw that on that episode, I was like, what are we doing? Like, where did you order this shitty Christmas dinner from? Because that ain't it.
I was wondering how accurate it was. And like maybe the adults, if we had seen their plates more, maybe we would have seen a little bit more, like, because we were at the kids' end of the table. We'll
Yes.
at least we'll give them that at least.
Kids deserve the gravy
But-
too, actually.
Yes, but kids are picky as hell.
That is true. And as well, like one of the biggest staples of Christmas dinner in the UK is pigs in blanket, which I realize in America means something different because when I was talking to my husband about this, so pigs in blanket is like a sausage wrapped in, is it like a pancake or something? Or
It's like a croissant.
yeah, so pigs in blanket in the UK is sausage wrapped in bacon. So that's
Because
what
I
you
thought I saw pigs in blanket on his plate, but it would have been our pigs in blanket.
which ain't it. Is not it. So again, I'm like, which American walked onto this British set and changed that? Was
Snuck
it
that
you,
in.
Ashley?
Yeah, it was me. It was
And you were
me
like,
specifically.
and you were like, put on this tank top, and I just died. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so pigs in blanket in the UK, it is like it's a sausage which wrapped in bacon,
Interesting.
and they're beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I could have 12 of them right now, and I'm not even joking.
And then I just wanted to once again be like, I'm so jealous of Darcy's flannel game. It is above and beyond. We get 2 different phenomenal flannels in these episodes. In winter, they have on, like, it's very fall colors. There's like yellows and oranges and like a little bit of green, maybe. Super cute, oversized as it should be. And then we have that phenomenal reversible one from Body. That's like bisexual colors.
Yep.
And I am obsessed.
Have you already tried to look them up to see if you can buy them?
I've looked up for the bisexual, but I haven't found one similar and none that are reversible.
It's got to be reversible, otherwise what are we doing?
It really does. does. It really does. There's not enough reversible clothing.
Damn right. I do really like Charlie's jacket as well. You know, the denim jacket that's got like the
Yeah.
lining and the collar. Like I really like that jacket.
Yeah. And that's
I've
so comic accurate too.
Yes,
It's
exactly. It's
perfect.
gorge. And like I've got a version of it where it's but like mine's like a brown like denim jacket with like the white collar, but I do like the blue.
Yeah.
So like when I saw it, I was like, damn you, Charlie. Like that's what I've been looking for. Not
It's
that it's not
nice.
accessible, but it is nice.
Yeah, it's real nice. The other thing is Tao and Elle, their tent has stars hanging in it.
Hmm.
And I was just thinking about that and how cute it was because, like, their thing might be butterflies, but it really started with stars at the arcade.
Hmm.
And it was just cute that they had stars. Also, they're like, we commented on the episode about how they were like, it's so big. And we're like, that's not a big tent. But then we did not talk about how after that we cut straight to Imogen and Sahar, who are in like a giant tent. And I was
Like
like, this is a big tent.
like they are at a music festival in their tent. Like literally like
Yes,
what
it's
the
huge.
heck? Massive, yeah. It
And
looks so
they're like
cozy though.
smaller than Talonelle. I'm like, why? Who assigned these?
They're in the VIP section of that garden, let's be real.
But let's be real. Like, if anybody was going to go for VIP, it would be Imogen.
We've seen how many suitcases she brings anywhere, so that makes complete sense.
Yes. And then also we kind of breezed past this, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how everyone completely ignores Tara when she's saying multiple times, like, can we not talk about school? Guys, let's not talk about school right now. And she's like clearly uncomfortable, clearly not doing well with this discussion, and nobody even blinks twice at her. And I know that they're all drunk, but like, we just didn't even talk about it. I'm like, it makes me really upset that no one is paying attention to her.
And it's like, you know, are people reading that as modesty from her because she's such a grade A student? But like at the same time, it's like if someone's clearly setting a boundary, like right there for you, like slapping you in the face with it, you just stop. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you stop immediately and you change the subject and you check in with that person later on and just stop talking about it. So yeah, like that's what I mean, like about the build up to like the panic attack that she has when obviously she runs away and it's just like, like, you know, this has been building up because she's not been heard. And it's the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing with Tara, and like this is kind of her big storyline, is that she isn't being heard for the longest time. She's been talked to and she's had
Right.
expectations made of her. Oh, you're going to do this. Oh, you're going to be this. Oh, you're going to get this job. And it's like being talked at and not letting her speak, you know? So like
Right.
the moments when she gets to is like that's the good stuff. Like that's the power from Tara. But it's just it's awful. And we see it all the time. You know, we see it parents who like, you know, thinking they are doing good by their children by telling them how to live their lives. And the reality is, damn, you've got to like encourage your kids to live their own life. Don't tell them how to live something. And that's kind of what's happening with Tara, unfortunately, you know, which is why she has the big breakdown when she's like, I cannot deal with this anymore. Like, I'm getting this at school. I'm getting this with my friends. I'm getting it with my parents. Like, I can't
Yeah.
escape it. So, yeah, it's like, for all that, you know, I did build up Charlie being really excellent in that moment, which he is, you know, he's fantastic, but also like that just, oh, that tension from Tara just as well. I think that panic attack, like, just that was the breaking point and that was the releasing point of I either had this panic attack or I'm going to rip my own hair out, you know. So
Yeah.
it was tough to watch, but you know, I like that going forward as well. We get more of this from Tara when she's like, hey, now I can have this opportunity to talk. I need to tell you how I feel about this because it ain't good. This is what
Yeah.
I want to do, you know.
Right. I just, I feel like they're so good at watching each other and like catching each other's body language. I guess it's probably just the fact that they were all drunk because like Nick and
Yeah.
Darcy were there too, and they would be who would like pick up on her body language. She was like totally closing in on herself and getting
Yeah.
smaller and smaller. But I just have to remind myself that they were drinking.
I know. And like they were drinking, they are 16, like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're kids. And
Yeah.
like, you know, I know like in the last episode I was on, I gave, you know, Isaac a lot of crap about certain things that he said. And I understand that he is 16, he is young, he'd obviously been drinking at that point. I completely understand that. But for me, like it's just from like coming at it from an adult perspective, you know, and watching this happen in real time. This is me just
Right.
voicing. This is how I would approach the situation. This is my reading of the situation. So, you know, like it's one of those things where like, and we do it all the time, right? Like for me, watching this show now, obviously as a queer person like younger their age, right, when I was at sixth form, there's so much where I can look around my friends and I was like, oh my god, I can understand more of what my friend was going through there by watching Heartstopper. Like my
Yeah.
friend was talking about something that they didn't really have the words to put into place at that point, but they were talking about being non-binary, you know, and like, and then I can see this in Heartstopper and I'm like, I'm making the, you know what I mean? I'm building the connections in my own head. And like, you know, for all that, you know, I didn't have any trans friends around me, but like having those conversations now, I'm like, oh, when I was 16 there, I was talking about, you know, transgender people and like, you know, the journey that they're going on. So like, it's one of those big learning points for me where I'm seeing this now and reactive, like retrospectively looking back at my own life with my own queer
Right.
friends back in college and being like, oh my God, this now has a term which back then we kind of just muddled our way through, but obviously we're still very respectful and very encouraging of each other. We just
Yeah.
didn't understand it fully the way that, you know, it's been presented to us now. And that's a great thing about this show. I think the best media should do that when you can look back through, you know, memories and it kind of, you make those connections and you build that learning retrospectively.
Totally. And then I like made a big deal about Nick rinsing out that paper cup. And somebody commented and was like, yeah, he was probably just rinsing it out for recycling. And I was like, oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. Of course, that's what he was doing. And like, if any show is going to give us recycling representation, it's
Hmm.
going to be Heartstopper.
And it's
I
going to
just
be
felt
Nick.
so dumb. I was like, duh.
But you know what it is? It's like one of those things that isn't really seen in media, right? Like, how many
Right.
times have we seen films or TV shows when they're at like a party or whatever, and there's cups all over, and they're all going in like a big trash bag, as you guys
Yep.
call it, a big, you know, like a rubbish bag that we would call it. How many times do you see that? Do you know what I mean? So like, fair, Ash, fair. But
Right.
the ever thoughtful Nick would be the one that would be
Yep.
washing that out and putting it in the
Cleaning
recycling
up.
bin. Yep,
For sure. For sure.
bless him.
Also, I really like the birthday sign that's in the kitchen above the sink. It's like multicolored and it's got the little pom-poms all over them.
Mm-hmm.
Very cute.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah.
cute.
Good detail.
Okay, we also got a comment about the joke,
Oh, okay.
explaining it.
Oh, thank God, because I'm none the wiser.
Yes. So Sarah on Patreon commented right after we posted it and was like, okay, I Googled it. Like I'm sure Nick Nelson did later because there's one thing about Nick, it's that he's good at Google. And I was like, accurate.
Hmm.
And they said the joke plays on the historical fact that one of the oldest known written customer complaints is a Mesopotamian clay tablet where a man named Nani accuses a merchant named Ea Nasir of delivering poor quality copper ingots, essentially meaning that if you need reliable copper, you can't trust a Mesopotamian to source it due to their history of subpar metal quality as documented in this ancient complaint. And it's like a real stone tablet that has this complaint carved into it. That man was pissed. Yelp before there was Yelp.
I mean, that joke just rolls off the tongue, right? Like you pull a Christmas cracker, you're reading that joke inside of there. But that's so interesting though. That is interesting to see like where that came from because it is
Yeah.
such like a history, you know, buff, I get type
Right.
joke. So it would make sense for his character to say that. But thank you for that explanation because yeah, that's I feel more informed. And it is Yelp, as you said, Ash.
Yelp on stone.
Yep. Honestly, Moses brought down them 10 commandments and he just had loads of complaints written on the back.
Yes. Okay, and then the last thing I have is another comment from, I think it was on Spotify actually.
Okay.
And they were like, did you notice the striking resemblance between Charlie's pep talks quote when he asked Jeff, do you practice your motivational pep talks or do they just come to you? And Keira Knightley's quote from Pride and the Prejudice, do these pleasing attentions proceed from the impulse of the moment or are they a result of a previous study? And I
Mm.
was like, no, I didn't, because I don't have Alyssa and I don't know anything about this, but Alyssa would have caught that. And so thank you for bringing it up.
That's pretty cool. Okay, that's a good catch. That's a good catch. I have much Pride and Prejudice in about 90 years, but good catch. It's nice when, like, you know, something very British references something else very British again, so I'm here for that. But yeah, that's a cool little catch. Well done.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
we need to get your favorite quote and your rating
Oh, okay.
from the two episodes.
So I think, I mean, one of the most obvious ones is like saying, like Elle saying that trans people are not a debate. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
chef's kiss, like gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I have to say one Tory moment that I love, which it isn't a quote, it's just a moment that I love, is when the cousins are at the dinner table and they ask her about like, you know, having any boyfriends with him. She's just like, no.
Yeah,
Just
it's
her
so good.
delivery of that line is perfection. Yeah, so good. So maybe that one from Elle, and that's from episode
Body.
6. So from Winter. I'm like trying to not go for like the obvious one, which was like, I mean, it's not like a favorite quote, but it's a one that it sticks with me, which is obviously when Tori's talking to Charlie and saying like, "Oh, do you not want to stay with me?"
Yeah.
It breaks my heart. It might be that, you know, just because it's a big character moment for Tori, and
Yeah.
it's one moment for me that like I'd never seen Tori that emotional, and I know she's had a lot of emotional moments, but like the feeling of betrayal on her face in that moment when she's like,
Yeah.
"So am I nothing to you?" is basically what she's saying in that. It might be that, and like I'm, you know, if anything on this podcast, this is me highlighting that I go for the emotional stuff because like anytime that something makes me feel something, I'm like fully in, whether it's good, whether it's like bad, it like pulls at my heartstrings. That's why I love Haley Atwell so much with the conversation on the beach. It might be that moment. I think it's a great character moment for Tori, and the actress just sells it. So yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Nice.
Now, oh, the ratings. So I am a lot more positive here compared to Journey, where I think I was in the negatives. But yeah, I think for Winter, I'm sitting at I'm sitting at probably about a 25 out of 5.
Okay. Okay.
I'm getting there. Obviously, there are like, you know, there's still some stuff in there like which is hard to watch, but I love like, you know, I say the fireworks, the ending, like all of that beautifulness is so nice and all of that. It's lovely. Yeah, and it's just there's so much in that, like the Christmas dinner, like you know, all of that just pulls me into like feeling very British watching that. And then episode 6 with Body. Oof, I mean, God, I love this episode so much. I'm
I
sitting at
know.
like probably like a solid 500 out of 5.
Nice. Nice.
I really do love Body. There's so much
Yeah.
in it to
Body's one
really
of my
love.
favorite
Yeah.
episodes for sure.
It's hard not to like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a lot in there still to process. Obviously, you know, just, like there's so much in there to love. Like there genuinely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, a solid 500 out of 5 for Body.
Perfect. All right. Are we ready to read some emails?
Yes, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it's your first mailbag with us.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so everyone knows, we're kind of going. Adam is like definitely going in blind. I have read the emails enough to copy and paste them over into a Word document. So, I saw some questions. I just want you guys to know that we are going in blind.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off with one we got from Amy. And Amy says, Season 3 has been such a roller coaster of emotions, but I've loved it so much. I especially like how they've touched on mental health and they've dealt with it so well. I feel like it's important for young people to see this, how they can get support, from where and from who, and that they don't have to suffer alone. I struggle with my mental health and I've gotten teary many times in sad and happy ways when Charlie has struggled and when he's speaking with Jeff. This show has also helped me to realize that I am bi or pan as a mid-40s woman, and I feel like I've always sort of known somehow, but haven't really come to terms with it since seeing the characters' journeys with theirs. Anyway, I can't wait to hear more from you guys in the next episodes, and I'm sending so many renewal vibes for season 4. There's so much more to tell. Everybody manifest season 4.
Yeah, send all the vibes, send the smoke signals, like fire the flares into the air. Like, I mean, first of all, Amy, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, you know,
Yes,
especially
thank
like,
you.
you know, on Ashley's podcast as well. That's so lovely. Honestly, really, really do respect you for doing that. Thank you so much. And it kind of leans into what I was saying earlier, you know, like when, you know, she was saying as a mid-40s like woman, like to watch something like this, it does make you retroactively think back on your own life and like your own experiences and I'm not the biggest fan of labels in the world. Like, it's not about that, but it is kind of coming to the understanding of, oh, my feelings correlate with this thing that other people have spoken about, and they've called it that, and they've understood it
Right.
as that. So for Amy to come to that realization is amazing. And, the fact that Heartstopper helped Amy come to that conclusion and find that out about, herself, I love that. I love that so much. So yeah, that's really, really lovely. And I agree, like, season 3 is such a roller coaster of emotions. I mean,
It
like,
really is.
that's why Ash and I split episode 4 into 2 parts, because there's so much to digest in that alone, like that's, and you mentioned about like your own journey with mental health there as well. And the journey itself is such a great episode for learning and understanding about mental health, like in whatever way, shape, or form. I know, like, obviously with Charlie, it's about like, eating disorders and OCD and everything like that. But there's stuff in there relatable for me. Like Ash, you said there's stuff in there relatable for you as well. And we aren't Charlie. We're not going through the same journey, but we can definitely identify with the steps that he's walking.
Yeah.
So yeah, so no, I love that. And yes, we are manifesting for season 4. We absolutely are. But thank you, Amy. That was great.
Thank you, Amy.
All right. This next one's from Liz. So here we go. This might be controversial, but I think season 3 is the most rewatchable season. Absolutely, totally agree. Yep, this is me chiming in. Totally
Yeah.
agree. They go on to say, I've done a lot of thinking about this because why? I love season 1. I love watching these boys fall for each other so sweetly and innocently. But I have a lot of trouble with the bullying. It's hard to watch people actively choose to be mean to others for no reason. Absolutely sound off about that. I can never watch bully without watching boyfriend immediately after because it hurts too much. I love season 2. I love watching these boys grow a deeper connection, and I love Nick's journey. Totally agree with you there. Season 2 is better than season 1 to me because it's okay. Nick and Charlie are Nick and Charlie, and it's okay that they are. I compare it to how to Train Your Dragon. I like movie 2 better than 1 because in movie 2, befriending dragons is an okay thing to do. What a great comparison. I love that. But there is still the Ben of it all, and it hurts to watch how he chooses to treat everyone around him. Very, very accurate. Very, very true. Season 3, however, is the best. Completely agree. The bullying, the bullying and the Ben of it all have dissipated. And now we see these boys in love. But hard times hit. It's hard to watch Charlie go through his mental health struggles, but they aren't his fault. He's not choosing to have trouble. In fact, he's choosing to get help. He's struggling and admits to it and gets help. It's hard, but it's so uplifting. It, to me, is much easier to watch, and I love that about season 3. Nick's struggles at the end hurt as well, but they aren't they aren't by choice. He's confused and making hard decisions, and the way they are both there for each other makes my heart absolutely soar. Completely agree. They go on to say, my notes for season 3. I'm not a fan of the Imogen Sahar storyline, but mostly because I'm confused by it. I don't think it was fleshed out to conclusion, and Imogen isn't in the comics, so it just feels too open. I hope for season 4 to help with this, among the millions of the reasons I want a season 4. I loved everyone else's storylines throughout. When I rewatch, which is insanely often, I mean, you're in the right place here, I almost always just rewatch season 3. It's just that amazing. Well, there's so much, Liz, that I agree with you with in here. Talk about like the bullying as well. Like, been there, done that, got that t-shirt, 100% there. So, but it's one of the things, again, where I've mentioned this with the show, like with the good and the bad, like to take the experience that we're watching on screen and to look back through our own lives. That's why season 2 hits me the hardest, with the storyline with Darcy. Like, I was in bits with Darcy, like at the end with them escaping from the prom and everything to do with their mother and them and the dark cloud hanging over them when they're sitting on the swing. Like, that hit me so hard because that was literally very close to my experience, and like I was in tears watching that.
Yeah.
I always say, like, the best media moves you in some way, and that's why season 2 is so special for me, and that's why that particular storyline with Darcy is so special to me, because I see myself in their shoes at that point, for better or worse. But it's nice to be seen by a show, so I think like the bullying is so accurate in the show. It's like lads, banter, 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 and it's just been there, done that. I get it. Yeah, but you're right. Like, talking about being proud of them both, like, the journeys that they've been on, that they're actively seeking help. And, like, it's interesting because Charlie isn't doing that at first. Charlie's trying to bottle it up and contain it and is like keeping it as
Yeah.
his little thing. And then
Yeah.
once it starts to bleed out of him too much, and he's like, look, like, we need to get this sorted out right now. That beautiful moment when Nick recognizes that, no, we need to do something about this. Let's write it down on paper, take my hand, I'll be right there with you. Let's go and talk to your parents. And they do that together. And you mentioned that obviously, Liz, as well. They're supporting each other, which is beautiful. But yeah, I mean, just season 3 as well. I mean, Ash and I have said this, like, it's our favorite. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's the best. There's so much
So
in
good.
season 3. And like you're just so proud of them of how far they've come. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you've said in there, definitely.
Yeah, it starts off with this might be controversial, but I think the most controversial thing that you've said is that you are not a fan of Imogen and Sahara's storyline. But I do understand what you're saying about it's not really fleshed out. I don't think that they're given quite enough time to really get the point across that they were going for, but there was just so much to pack in. I think that I just happened to fall on the side of I fucking love this and I wish it would have been able to get fleshed out more. But yeah, I have a lot more to say about that in the next couple of episodes as well. So, thank you, Liz. Thank you for writing in and
Yes,
thank you for listening. Okay, the next one is from Cynthia and it says, "Hi there. I'm wondering how Tori knew that Nick hadn't heard from Charlie while he was at the Daffodil Clinic, but he wanted to. It's a throwaway line in episode 4 Journey, and I can't figure out how she knows that. Did Nick reach out and talk to her? Did she reach out to him? Did Tal talk to her after the Halloween party to try to reach Charlie? Sorry if I missed this, and thanks for your help." Thanks for the very fun and informative recap episodes. It's been great to spend more time in this last season as we navigate the heart stoppage while we wait for season 4. Have a great week.
Love the heart stoppage.
Yeah, that's great. I think she probably, I would say that they continued to DM on Insta after she reached out while he was in Menorca.
I 100% think that. Like, like Tori is so much attached to Charlie that she's going to be talking to Nick, and she even says like Nick is my favorite out of your friends, so like that's coming from somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
although she is very much the watcher and the observer of many things, like she's still communicating with her boyfriend's with her brother's boyfriend. Like she is,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like I definitely think it's coming from that. Although I will say, in Winter when she does like DM on Instagram, like Charlie saying, "Hey, I'm coming over," like why didn't she text? Like.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just text her brother? Like, what are we doing?
I know.
Such an interesting choice by her, but okay.
I like that they tried to fix that by giving us text, but they really only give us text between like Nick and Charlie, and then everybody else still is on Instagram.
Like if my mom messaged me on Instagram rather than like text me, I'd be like, "What on earth are you doing on this platform?" Like,
yes.
Text me now.
Yeah, my mom would send me Facebook messages, but only when I was in trouble. I knew I was in trouble because she would get on the computer so she could type easier, and she would type out a big long message for me.
Oh man! When that message pinged on your phone, you were like, "Oh
like,
man,
oh man, what did I do?
I am in trouble." But just the word heart stoppage as well. I'm obsessed with that. That's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Cynthia.
Yes, thank you, Cynthia. That was great. All right, this next one we have is from Kate. Kate says, "I love the small amount of time we get to spend with Tori this season. Wow, a lot of stuff about Tori. I love this. But we wish we had more time to spend on her mental health." Yes, I can definitely see where you're coming from there, Kate. Comparing her to season 1, Tori, we can see that although she's been a bit spiky, she is much more depressed and down by season 3. Yeah, definitely. I know we are getting to see a lot of the solitaire plot, but it hurts to think how much she is struggling herself in the background behind Charlie's struggles. What is your favorite Tori moment in season 3? Hoping for more Tori mental health exploration alongside her asexual journey in season 4.
Yes, love that manifestation at the end.
Yes, honestly, raise that. So thank you, Kate, for that. That's super, super great. Tori is a really, really great character. And I think as well, you mentioned Solitaire in there. Like, it's definitely one of those moments where if you've gone away and read Solitaire and then you're watching the show, there's a lot of like, a lot of like cheeky little nods and references to that where if you've read it,
Yeah.
you get it, so like it's cool that that's kind of folded into the writing with the show. But hopefully, yeah, I mean, that's why I love that moment in Winter so much when Tori says that to Charlie, because that's a big blow to her mental health when like she feels like her own brother can't see how much she cares for him in that moment, and like says, what about me? Like, do I not make you feel like that? And do I not look after you like that? And especially like the previous episode when like they're holding hands in the back of the car and she's saying, I've got you, brother, to then like feeling abandoned by him almost, it's like it is a lot for her and it's a big roller coaster for her. And not even just, dealing with Charlie, but like dealing with the Michael of it all and like dealing with her parents and like all of that. So, for all that the series is really focused on Nick and Charlie, she's definitely running alongside parallel with Charlie, through all of that, and
For sure.
is sharing a lot of the trauma, especially with the parent stuff and that alongside Charlie. So yeah, that's a really, really good point, actually.
Yeah, and if you've read Solitaire, then you know kind of like how deep her depression goes, and it's just kind of always in the back of your mind thinking about her and how she's doing. And you're totally right. There's a difference between season 1 Tori and season 3 Tori for sure.
Yeah. I think like for me, the big thing with it is that I mean, season 1 did play with a little bit of the tropes of like, she was like comedic in many ways where she would just pop up and like say a line, and like that was like a very kind of reoccurring joke with Tori almost. But then this season, like we're seeing the Tori, like we're learning about like this character, this person who exists.
Right.
So yeah, like the evolution of her has been phenomenal. But yeah, still a lot more to learn about her. Absolutely. Definitely take your point there, Kate. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Tori moment from
Oh,
season 3?
from season 3. I mean, I think it might be the dinner table just saying no. I just think it's such a
Nice.
great moment, right? When the cousins are asking, and just her face when she looks up and no. It's
It's
just
so good. It really is.
such a great delivery. It might be
It's
that.
so good. I think mine might be a tie between her and Michael's first moment
Yes.
of seeing each other,
Yeah, it's lush.
and in the finale when Charlie comes out in his t-shirt and she just looks so fucking proud and excited for him.
That's a good shout.
I think that it might be one of those two.
Yeah, that's great. Great shouts.
So everybody leave a comment with your favorite season 3 Tori moment. I want to hear everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kate, for writing in.
Cheers, Kurt.
And then the next one is Sierra. They said, season 3 destroyed me and then healed me again in ways I couldn't even imagine. It tore open wounds I honestly wasn't ready to go at, and I had 4 days of deep, deep depression after watching it for the first time. The Heartstopper syndrome is insane. I had multiple sessions with my therapist about it, and it catapulted me light years ahead in my progress. And yet, while it hurts so much, I love it for it. I have never ever experienced anything like Heartstopper, and for me it wasn't even about the queer experience because even though I am bi, I luckily never struggled with it. I can't imagine what this must mean to someone who deeply relates to these characters in that regard as well. I've made so many changes to my life afterwards, changes that even 2 years of therapy didn't accomplish, and I'm much happier for it. My BFF watched all 3 seasons to better understand what I was going through, and we've really connected over that. This show has become so important to me in a way that I can't explain to someone who didn't, quote-unquote, feel it. That's lovely.
Oh my God, I felt myself welling up a little bit listening to that.
I love the support from your bestie. I love the fact that the show has helped you be able to work through so much, it sounds like. Thank you for sharing that, honestly.
This is so great. It's like, a couple of comments that we've had like people like talking about like themselves and sharing things about themselves. And I mean, first of all, this is credit to Ashley and obviously Alyssa as well for creating such a beautiful podcast where people feel respected and safe, and it's a safe space to share things about them. So obviously, big thank you to Ashley for doing that. And it's created such a wonderful audience that feel like they can share stories about themselves. So honestly, props to Ash for that. But yeah, this is wonderful. I mean, it's so interesting as well, talking about like watching the show and it's really had an impact on you, and then talking to your therapist about it, and that's so interesting. Like, to hear their take on it, because obviously there's a lot of therapy in Heartstopper as well.
Yeah.
And it would be so interesting to hear their take on that aspect of it as well, and like kind of their thoughts on the show. And, I don't know how a therapist would approach, obviously, a client talking about it, like maybe kind of more focused on your feelings regarding that. But so interesting to hear, like, about, talking to a therapist about the show and how it's impacted you in that way. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I love as well you were saying about, having your BFF like watch all 3 seasons and to
Yeah.
understand more about you and like why it connected to you so much, why it had that impact on you. And I definitely relate to when you said, at the end there, like to me in a way that I can't explain to someone who didn't feel it. That's me. Like I
Yeah.
feel the media that I consume. So like you and me, we are on the same page there. That's kind of what I've been saying through this episode a lot. Like the moments that are my favorite are the ones that made me feel something.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
right there with you.
You got both Kates.
Yeah, I got another Kate here. Okay, so this is another Kate. And then the message says, I was very, very much looking forward to season 3 of Heartstopper, as I was extremely curious to see how certain themes would be presented in the series. And of course, I was not disappointed. Sound off, Queen. Absolutely. Hugely important to me personally is the topic of Charlie's suffering this season and coping with it, coming out of it. As someone who struggles with OCD and anxiety, I saw myself in him. The shifting of obsessive thinking about certain things, the perfectionism that can't be switched off, the scene with wrapping the gift for Nick, yes, that actually came to my mind as well. Certain nervous tics, finger plucking, shoulder squeezing, all of this was portrayed so well. Masking and pretending that everything is fine. You can see that the filmmakers put a huge amount of care into knowing the subject and portraying it appropriately. 100% that. Very, very accurate, very, very respectful towards that. And props to Joe Locke as well for capturing that, which I think you're going to go on to talk about next.
Yeah.
Joe Locke, you are a master. Master! The way you showed all the emotions, the experiences, I have no words. Hats off to you. Completely agreed. Episode 3 and its ending, when Charlie goes with Nick to talk to his parents. This is where my immense sobbing began, which lasted non-stop for the entire following episode. Episode 4, the presentation from 2 perspectives. Something wonderful. I can't remember when something has moved me so much in television in a very long time. I think you speak for Ashley and I when we say we completely agree with that. It's impossible to describe everything I feel here, but I certainly watched season 3 with the most tension because of the seriousness of the subject matter in it and how the characters deal with it. I was very concerned about the lack of Olivia Colman, who I adore. I mean, completely agree. However, Haley Atwell played brilliantly. Absolutely go off, like all the props to that goddess.
Yes. Yes.
Love can't cure mental illness. I am at a loss for words. This scene in Haley and Kit Connor's acting also made me incredibly emotional. I was also very moved by the storyline of Elle and Tao. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back for a second. Yes, like that scene with Haley and Kit Connor on the beach where Kit Connor had the audacity to say how terrible he was in that scene. I'm like, where was your head at? Like,
Yeah.
you were having an out of body experience at that point because that is not accurate. Like, they killed that scene together. So, yes, Kate, I completely agree with you there. I was also very moved by the storyline of Elle and Tao, showing their maturing relationship, the problems they have to face. I could pretty much write about the thread of each character this season. Tara, Darcy, Isaac, they each walk a certain path and face their demons. Very true. I have to add a few words about the music. It's been great in every season, and I wasn't disappointed here either. Perfect selection of songs for specific scenes, a masterwork. I mean, Ash and I keep highlighting this when we go through. Every time I hear Black Friday by Tom Odell, I just think of this show now. And, I've said about how much that song's special to me. So, like, but yeah, there's so much in this that, like, it's feeding us. It's absolutely fantastic. And Kate ends with, I hope we get a 4th season. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't imagine any other option. Heartstopper has changed my life. Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness. I mean, so much to unpack there, but it means so much that I agree with wholeheartedly. I mean, the show does do it really well where, it does work with Charlie suffering like really well, really respectfully, really accurately. And, the portrayal by Joe Locke is fantastic, like genuinely with such respect towards the material and towards the subject matter. So, 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 so good. Oh, and everyone's fun. The writing, the performance, everything. Like you said, the music's fantastic. I mean, the lack of Olivia Colman is felt, but then Haley Atwell just fills that
So
space
good.
so good.
Yes.
Even in like winter when like we see her and she's like oh, like, are we interrupting? Is this the boyfriend? Like, oh, so good.
So good. I know.
Like her face is just perfection in that moment.
Yeah.
But you're right as well. Like even the other characters, like the Elle and Tao, like the development of their relationship, and then Tara, Darcy, and Isaac as well. Like the paths that their characters walk down. Yes, like honestly, Kate, yeah, everything there. I couldn't agree more. And thank you as well for being again so honest with your own experiences and with what you've struggled with.
Yeah.
But yeah, beautifully done.
Yeah. And thanks for specifically talking about some of the OCD tics that we see. I think I've said a couple of times that I'm not super familiar with OCD. And so having that stuff pointed out is like really helpful for me.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for writing in and for listening. And yeah, thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Kate.
Okay. The next one is anonymous. And it says, "Hi from Germany. I'm a huge Heartstopper fan and, of course, also a fan of your podcast. Thank you. I decided to write you this mail because you mostly just got comments of adults talking about how healing this show is and how great it would have been to have this show as a teen. So here I am, a 14-year-old girl who is questioning her sexuality but ready to tell you about my Heartstopper feelings." Okay, so it says, "But let's start from the beginning. I always saw myself as an ally, and I knew that my friends and family were LGBTQ plus friendly as well. My aunt is married to a woman, and two of my closest friends have queer older sisters, and everyone is just very supportive. When I found Heartstopper in like November 23 or something, because it just showed up on my Netflix and I needed something to watch, I just started it and I didn't stop for 3 hours. And then in the next 2 days, I finished what was out there and just immediately started to rewatch like 5 times. This is all sounding super familiar." The first few watches, I was like wondering why Nick was having such a hard time with coming out, because pretty much everyone around him was queer, except for the rugby lads, of course. And he knew that they would be supportive, but he was still struggling. I only started to understand his struggles a few months later when I came to the realization that I liked girls more than other girls do. And so I wanted to tell my closest friends that I was bi at a sleepover. I did, and it felt nice to say, but I was so nervous about it, even though I knew that they would be okay with it. So I pretty much saw very much of me in Nick, more than I thought I would on my first watch. I got more confident over time with liking girls, but I didn't want to come out publicly or something, so I just started wearing a rainbow bracelet and never took it off. Actually, since I told my friends I liked girls, I was questioning if I even liked boys, for the first time ever, and I'm still not sure. But I know I'm queer and valid and loved, and I'm so grateful for that. I haven't found my label yet, but I don't think without Heartstopper I would have realized that I was queer. It's a journey, and Heartstopper is helping me so much. So I started talking about it nonstop and was annoying all my friends, also relatable, because they all watched it like 1 or 2 times since I wouldn't stop talking about it, but no one else was obsessed with it like I was. Your podcast, therefore, is so amazing to listen to because finally someone understands my feelings about Heartstopper, and I love listening to you guys when I'm not reading the comics, watching the show, or listening to the soundtrack.
Love that.
I
Love that.
love it. And this one came in a while ago, and I fully cried the first time I read this one. I was like, oh my gosh. I just love so much that, like, so many of us get so moved by this show in different ways. Like, everybody's on their own journey, and yet all of us are getting so much out of it.
Yeah. First of all, again, thank you so much for sharing your story at such a young age as well. Like,
Yes.
Ash and I can think back when we were like 14-year-old as well. And like when we were both 14-year-old girls and like discovering, I was definitely sure of my sexuality at that point, but still didn't know what it meant. And it's okay. Like, when you were saying there, like when you were thinking, you definitely know you like girls, you're not sure you've ever liked boys. And some people, there's no kind of end journey with that. Sometimes like sometimes there doesn't even need to be an answer. Just live your true authentic self. And if those feelings change over time, great. Just keep
Yep.
exploring that and just keep, it sounds like you've got a great set of friends around you there who support you, and well done for your bravery as well for telling them all, because at that age, it's not an easy thing. A lot of
Yeah.
people have lost friends through that. So, it's great that you've identified, you've got that great friendship group around you and you're able to do that. I was very fortunate where I was in the same position at your age and you've chosen well. So I love to see that. Yeah. And that can be tough, but as well, it's, Ash and I talk about this, and it comes across very much in what we say all the time is that when I watch TV or when I consume media, like these characters are real to me. Like they're not just like actors. Like I am watching these characters. They are real to me, So
Yeah,
like
they're my friends.
exactly, right? Like I'm gonna Instagram DM like Charlie in a second. But so to watch this because it's so real and we see ourselves in their journey and we see like the emotions and everything they go through, we feel it because we feel like them as real people.
Yeah.
And I love that you talk about that. And it's, the show has helped you in so many wonderful ways that you identify there. And that's so fantastic. And honestly, I think if Alice was listening to that and read that, I think Alice would be very proud as well, because that's
Yeah, definitely.
such a lovely sentiment to Alice's work and writing, that it's moved you and touched you in such a great way like that. So yeah, that was so lovely. Honestly, thank you so much for sharing that.
I also think it feels, to me at least, it feels normal to
Yeah.
question that once you realize that you are queer in some
Hmm.
way, to be like, because I definitely went through that too. It
Same,
was like,
same.
do I like men, or did the compact get me? So yeah, that's definitely super relatable. Everything in this is relatable, and I'm just thankful that you wrote in and proud of you for everything that you overcome. Keep on trucking, keep on wearing that bracelet.
Yes. I love that, wearing the bracelet. Never take the bracelet off. That's such a unique way of just showing how proud of yourself you are, and you
Yeah.
should be proud. You should be absolutely proud. I love that. So yeah, keep wearing that bracelet. Love that so much. All right. This next one is from Melissa. So this one came in after our last mailbag last year. So when they say season 2 came out and it doesn't add up, that's why. Okay, I've got context. I'm aware. Putting my mind back in the past. Okay. Okay. So Melissa says, I wanted to share a little about how Heartstopper changed my life and how your podcast has helped me along the way. The headline is, I am a much, much nicer Ben Hope, combined with Imogen and rounded out by Nick.
What a combination.
I am intrigued to see. I'm already in. I'm so intrigued to see where this is going. Starting with Ben Hope. Whew. Okay, here we go. Growing up in the South, I was lucky to have parents who more or less shared my values on race, religion, etc. And in theory, an acceptance of gay people. As a kid, I was your stereotypical tomboy, chopping off my doll's hair and taking apart my dollhouse to use the walls for ramps for my Hot Wheels. I love
Nice.
that. I was even asked at some point if I like girls, and I said no, because it was coded that being gay was not a great idea. I can relate with that. So I went with it. The easy path was to be straight, and I liked guys fine. So off I went into a heteronormative land. Wow, I feel that so hard. I started hooking up, like big hooking up, not just kissing, with girls quietly whilst in hetero relationships, starting around 24, and always chalked it up to I was just having fun, nothing to see here. I continued to identify as straight, even though I clearly was not. I got married, had a kid, and carried out this straight presenting life on the outside, but always had the undercurrent of attraction to women. There were a lot of stolen kisses and a handful of times I had sex with women, and my husband was aware, and still I carried on with the idea I was straight, but just liked to dabble. Fast forward to my friend recommending Heartstopper last fall after season 2 was out. It was fully new to me, and I gave it a go. By Kiss, I was hooked. Then I finished season 1 and dove into season 2 immediately. It wasn't even when Nick had his bi awakening during Pirates or watching Courtney Chai's video that got me. It was the third or fourth confident I'm bi actually in season 2 when the light bulb went off. Wait, you can just be bisexual forever? Mind blown. My husband always suggested I was a lesbian, but I knew it wasn't true. But I love girls. So what is that? I never had the language to describe myself. Media never talked about bisexuals as a true, real, lifelong identity. Oh boy, ain't that the truth.
Yep.
I'd fully bought into the idea that it was a way station, a transition point, something evolving. I had no idea you can be bisexual and it be fully your identity. Ooh, go off, Melissa. So after the Paris episode where Nick comes out for the 20th time, I'm bi actually. I sat down and legitimately my mouth was agape. Total jaw drop. I sat dazed in my at my kitchen table for at least an hour, just processing this fact. I am bisexual. I am queer. What the fuck? What the fuck? I opened a notebook and wrote down all the times I had encounters with women as if I were creating a case in court or something. The more I wrote down, the more my mind was blown. This wasn't me just having fun. This was me being bi and queer and sadly not realizing this the whole time. Ben Hope without the horrific behavior. Okay, I can see where you're coming
Valid. I
from
see
there.
where it's tied
Yep.
in now.
Yeah. Yep, that's fine. So you weren't bullying other people. That's totally fine. Meanwhile, I was screaming, I'm an ally at every Pride, literally tearing up while watching the floats. I didn't realize I was doing that because I was equally closeted to the queer community. I was closeted to the straight community and closeted to the queer community. So it manifested as screaming about allyship, even though I'm queer as fuck and a raging bisexual. Imogen. Isn't that the wild thing about bisexuality? We can be closeted to the queer and straight community all at once. Oh boy, wow,
Yeah.
what a line.
Yeah.
Oof. In conclusion, Heartstopper woke up my bisexual mind, and your podcast has served as tiny cheerleaders living in my headphones, making it all the more sense. Thank you. Well, Melissa,
Wow.
that is such a journey. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm obviously not bisexual, I'm a gay man, but there is a lot in that I can see myself in, especially convincing yourself that you're straight for the longest time. Absolutely there
Yeah.
with you. That was very much me from a young age. I totally get that. And it's like forever. I mean, I described this before, like for me coming out, it was like, it was a stone in my mouth that like, it just rattled around in there all of the time. And then when I eventually spat it out, that was the first time I felt free of it. And that, I think you're kind of relating a little bit to that, where you knew what you were, you just couldn't put a finger on it initially, or you
Yeah.
couldn't. It was hard to grapple with that. To finally land on the idea of bisexual, that is a thing, and it's very valid. Because we get taught there's bisexual invisibility still today in so much
Yeah.
media. I mean, Ash, you can probably talk to a lot of this as well, like seeing it. But I'm so
Yeah.
pleased that you found that in yourself. The show helped you come to that conclusion, and I'm just so happy for you that you're able to live your authentic life that way.
Yeah, definitely. I also really relate to the my husband always suggested I was a lesbian, but I knew it wasn't true. Zach used to say, except for me, baby's a lesbian.
Love that.
I was like, nope, just bisexual.
Yep. But I'm pleased that the show helped you to, as you said, awaken your bisexual mind, Emma. So that's fantastic. Love that for you.
Yes. Yes. I also love the journey you took us on in this email.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing in.
Absolutely.
We're happy to be your cheerleaders anytime.
Yep, absolutely. I've got pom-poms right now.
All right. The last one is one that I was supposed to use a little bit of in Journey, and I forgot. So I'm circling back to it.
Hey, we're here now.
It is a bit longer. I pulled bits and pieces of it just to kind of talk. So bear with me, y'all. I don't know why when I'm reading these, I hold my breath. I'm sure you can hear it. I don't know why. I can't.
You
seem
do it
to
all in
stop
one
it.
breath.
Yeah. This is from Allison. Allison is a nurse who has worked in residential treatment. And they sent their thoughts on episode 4. So yeah, I just pulled like some of the more interesting stuff to share with y'all. They're starting off talking about how we're seeing it through like a nicer version of what a facility similar to what Charlie's in would be like. And
Right.
so that's where we're starting this email. I do think that it's important for maintaining the overall theme of the show and keeping the same tone, so I have no issues with the way that this topic was handled. But we're definitely getting a rose-colored lens over the psych wards because they definitely do not tend to be as calm and laid back as where Charlie is. The realities are definitely more violent due to the ways that kids tend to express the trauma that they've experienced in different ways. And while patients like Charlie are going to have no issues with violence himself and could actually greatly benefit from the resources at the facility, I do think in reality, he would be seeing other patients being more violent more than is shown on the show. I don't think this needs to be shown in Heartstopper. I just think it's an interesting reality of the place that Charlie is at. And I think that's true for anyone who has been in or maybe knows someone who has been in those facilities, it is a bit more chaotic typically than what we're seeing on our screens.
I
But,
think that,
that's
yeah,
Heartstopper.
that is true. And
So,
we're seeing it through a very like guided lens as well, through a
yeah,
character's lens. But of course, yeah, that's obviously
definitely.
very accurate from your experience as well, clearly.
Yeah. And they go on to say, then we see Charlie call Nick for the first time, and we get Charlie's diagnosis of anorexia and OCD. And I love the way that Charlie explains his OCD compulsions because it's so simple but so accurate. From patients I've seen with OCD, it is just that. You have to follow whatever rule your compulsion decides is there, or something catastrophic will happen. And we've definitely seen hints of this through Charlie in earlier episodes, which is so true.
Hmm.
The one that comes to mind is when he is specifically tearing up his sandwich in the art room with Nick.
Yeah.
I think this show makes this topic so approachable and easy to digest, which is so powerful that it is exposed to more people. It is really nice that this is like a mainstream show that a lot of people are consuming, and it's handling so many different topics so well.
Hmm.
So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Then they say, Nick then visits Charlie for the first time. What a cool clinic for allowing all those people to visit at once. Also true.
Yeah.
They said we had a max of 2 visitors at time per patient. And I believe that was a leftover rule from the pandemic when I worked there. I don't know if that was, I think that, because I've been in those facilities prior to the pandemic, and I still think it's like 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah.
So it is nice that like we do get to see his whole family.
Yeah, definitely. We'll make allowances for that.
Yeah. I also want to break down the things that Charlie received in the box that Nick brings for him. So firstly, boxes like that would have had to been inspected by a staff member before ever being shown to the patient, to ensure that nothing could pose a risk to the patient that's prone to self-harming. Things like the card he gets from his friends and the deck of top trumps cards are totally fine, and he could have those. The one big no that I saw, though, is the string that the cards are wrapped in. That would have been taken away by staff. Makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Charlie goes to the clinic and we meet Susan for the first time. They don't ever say what her role is specifically, but I love the inclusion of her as a character. I would say my role working in inpatient was most similar to that of Susan's. The day-to-day functions on the psych floors are run by a combination of nurses and techs. While you would meet with a therapist in the facility, that would only be an hour of your day every day. So the rest of the time, people like Susan are getting you to and from group activities, giving out medications, talking to you if you get overwhelmed, and sitting beside you for meals. In reality, there would probably be more like 4 or 5 staff in that role, depending on the amount of patients at the facility. But she is definitely the glue that keeps the place running. She also is noted for trying to keep things light for Charlie, like making jokes around the art that they're doing, and I think that it's so important to show that as well. It's not some super rigid place where we can never have a laugh. I loved making silly art with my patients or playing card games and getting competitive. Those moments are just as important as the difficult ones in sessions with a therapist. So thank you for writing this into us, Allison. I really enjoyed reading the full email with like all the little details that you shared. I did think about the box and how it would have been inspected. But I still didn't even think about the string, but that's so true.
Yeah.
It definitely would have been taken.
Yeah, honestly, your insight into all of this is fantastic. I mean, obviously, like depictions of like certain things on TV in many ways can be a little bit like romanticized, like in certain ways, there can be liberties taken because it is a TV show at the end of the day. But when it does capture the details so well, it like hits so hard. So, but like, what's great here is that your experience, you're able to sit there and see like the real things in action and also be like, oh, actually, that would probably never happen because of reasons X, Y, and Z. But yeah, your insight is absolutely valid. I love that. I love like talking about, as you said, the string and then 2 visitors max, which absolutely, checks out. But thank you so much for sharing that. Like even just the day-to-day functions like on the floor and like what someone like the Susan character would be like and stuff like that. It's like, that's so interesting from someone who's never been to a clinic like that, It's like, it's so interesting to hear how that would work. So yeah, honestly, thank you for that. That's, thanks, Alison. That's great insight. And yeah, I love it. I love that stuff. I eat it up.
I love that you mentioned identifying with Susan too, which is cute. We love Susan.
Oh, icon, legend, the moment.
Well, that was all of the emails. So thank you for writing in. Thank you all for listening. I really enjoy getting feedback from y'all. It makes us feel really, really good to hear all the nice things.
Honestly, thank you so much. They were amazing to read. This is the first ever grab bag I've ever done of this, so I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for the kind words as well about the podcast. Everyone for sharing their stories. It's so
Yes.
lovely, honestly, so lovely to read. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to do another one because I really enjoyed them. To be
Yeah.
completely honest, it was super fun.
Yeah, we usually do one of these with the season wrap up. I wanted to go ahead and do some of them now because I know that that's going to be chaotic as hell with the three of us.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, yeah.
Because Sabrina will be joining us. So we will do another mailbag call out. But I wanted to get, I didn't want to have 20 emails to read when there's three of us already talking a whole bunch. So
Right. Oh boy, that episode will be 7 hours long. I hope you're ready.
I know. Everybody's like, bring it on.
Yeah, I know, right? Give us longer, give us more. So I suppose that wraps us up for today. Again, big thank you to everybody for submitting all of your questions, thoughts, feelings, everything. It was fantastic. Ash and I really enjoyed loving them. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with season 3, episode 7 together.
Crazy. If you want to follow us online, we are at Why Are We Cast on all platforms. And until next time, bye.
Bye.